argument with our empirical tools. And then how to end reincarnation? Does it go on infinitum, or why? Why are we reincarnating, and for how long? So that's where the Bhagavad Gita can offer further resolve and explanations. And there are talks here on the Gita every week, so I won't go into all the, even attempt to go into an in-depth explanation from the Bhagavad Gita. But just to say that the Gita does deal with these things, does address these questions that Ian Stevenson's research is not, or even Peter Ramster's research is not able to address. Here are some nice verses. Bhagavad Gita 2:12. Natve vaham jatunasam natvam nime janadipa nachevana bhavishyama sarve vayamataparam. Never was there a time when you and I did not exist, nor shall we cease to exist at any time in the future. We are eternal. We have bodies. The bodies pass away. And we have experience of this in this life. The Gita gives a nice example for us that we can relate to. Dehino smidyata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuyati. The Gita says, every one of us here, we had a small, tiny baby's body, so small that it fit in our mummy's belly. I think you have someone in your belly right now. All the best to you. And so tiny little baby fits in mummy's belly. And now we have adult bodies. So where has that little baby body gone? We say it has grown. Yes, indeed, it has. But in the process of growth, there is also there's a lot of transformation that goes on, right? We could say we have reincarnated as we grow. At every moment we are producing cells are being produced, and there are others dying, they're being replaced. And so the body is constantly undergoing change. Some scientists say that every 7 years we go through a complete change of all the cells in our bodies. I think that would also depend on the age. Maybe babies, that would be happening much more rapidly than adults. But there is a constant process of, you could say, re-fleshing that's taking place for us. We are the same person, born from mummy's tummy, same person, but body has changed. So the Gita says, as you change your body from baby to child to youth to adult, in the same way, you will continue to change your bodies. Once the body becomes old, no longer able to carry the soul, and you will be transferred to another baby's body. Where will that soul go? What's the mechanism for carrying the soul, or what decides what body will take next? Yam yam vapismaram bhavam tyajatayanta kalevaram tam tamivaiti kunteya saratan bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being, whatever our state of consciousness at the moment of death, the Gita tells us that will carry us, or that will determine the next body we receive. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, carry on.
So basically, like, there's some state of consciousness that we might achieve in our life, and it's never lost because it's sent to the next soul. But suppose that I get very conscious at age 35, and then my brain is very scattered for the rest of my life, and I die with a very scattered brain. Does that conscious brain at age 35, that level of consciousness I achieved in the middle of my life, is that preserved and sent to the next life?
Yeah, okay, thank you for the question. So when we say consciousness, it's what we value, what we feel, what our attachments are, what we identify with. That is growing us. Even in this life, right now, we are creating our next life by our decisions, by our behaviors, by our values. We are, because the consciousness determines the body. Even now, think about your life. If you are very health conscious, you can make your body more healthy. If you develop a slothful consciousness, that will be reflected in your body as well. Yeah? So the body reflects consciousness. And so our state of consciousness at the moment of death, that will be leading us, that will be determining. It's the programming of our subtle body that then carries us. The subtle body makes the physical body. Yes?
On that note, some people will undergo, obviously, like a health situation, illness, etc. But maybe their, how do you say, their convictions.
Which?
Their convictions.
Yeah.
Their cognition is very clear.
Yeah.
They're very wise people. Their inner determination is so strong
Yeah.
that even though they are in a very physically ill situation, they might not identify consciously with, okay, I am not this.
Right? Yeah.
So some people do not run the same, let's call it, lock.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
identify with like, oh my God, I'm dying. I am a corpse, still
Right.
living.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I'm answering.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So you're bringing out a subtle distinction.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Well done.
All right.
Yes, at the back.
Well, I'm so happy he said that because I'm like severely sick. Yeah. My like juice here.
I didn't actually catch that.
He's saying she's glad that he brought that out because she's feeling severely sick, so she has her juice.
Right. Yeah. Sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Yeah. So sometimes we might feel like we're a let's say a Lamborghini engine in a Ford body. We have the power. We're ready to go emotionally, spiritually even, but then the body somehow, there's some disconnect there. So, thank you.
Yeah. So I know in the beginning you brought up that this was kind of the phenomenon of reincarnation is like kind of response to a theological
Yeah.
question. And I just wonder what your thoughts is, because obviously in our Western philosophical, theological, kind of the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they do not hold by via doctrine that the reincarnation phenomenon is even a thing, so they'll completely brush it off. So what are your suggestions to try to have those conversations when the philosophical tradition of the West seems so steep in those Abrahamic values that they just brush it off?
Right.
So it's almost like, oh, it's just a Western idea, I mean, an Eastern
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
How do you enter into those conversations when almost like via like doctrine?
Right.
This doesn't happen because they have
Yes.
their own view of what happens. The minute you die,
Yeah.
you go somewhere. It's already set out.
Right.
So they have. That's a hard conversation to have when they have their view already set.
Yes.
And their scriptures too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So I don't know if everyone heard. It was that how do we have this conversation with people in other spiritual traditions where reincarnation may not be accepted? We're going to respect all spiritual traditions, right? We're going to respect people's efforts to connect with the divine. But if there's a curiosity to understand, we're happy to share. And within those, you mentioned Abrahamic traditions, there are obscure communities that also, so if somebody's interested, there are historically, not even just in modern times, but historically, there have been people within all spiritual traditions that have also had faith and in reincarnation. Some of them burned at the stake for those views, but not always. And then some people even read that into the Christian Bible, and so they point to their Christ asking, "Who do they say I am?" Disciples. And they say, some say you're Elijah, some say you're So people look to those texts and they find support, but it's not overtly taught there.
And there's another one where there's a child that was born blind, and they're asking Jesus, well, was he born blind because of his own sins or because of the sins of his parents?
Yeah.
So that would also say, well, how can a baby have sin? So
Right.
again, they're referring to
Uh-huh.
the past life.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
just,
think
we're going to take one more comment or question, and then we're going to have a little, two more.
what I was gonna say, I think we live in an amazing time that is scientifically they've proven now, for example, this kind of like proof of past lives. Also, for example, near-death experience proof.
Yeah.
They prove in Bhagavad Gita right nowadays that we're more than this body. That's near-death experience. Also, there's a book called Life in the World Unseen, where this guy describes his own death, how he left the body, he was just priest or messenger or something like that.
Right.
And this kind of stuff, it proves Bhagavad Gita right, and it's perfect time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So NDEs is a whole other topic that we could explore. That's another talk. Thank you. Last word.
Thank you for
Rockstar.
taking a-
Rockstar Dave.
Thank you for taking another question. My question is, I appreciate you talking about how like siblings or same mother, like, but they're totally different.
Yeah.
And like that relates to me.
Uh-huh.
Like my brother and me,
Yeah.
same mother, same father, but we're completely different.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was wondering, is there like a reason why one goes down the other path and one goes the other path? And is it fate for them to go down their path? And if it isn't fate, I mean, is it fate? Is like trying to help them, or
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for your question. And also verifying one of the points we made from your own lived experience. And so why are we brought together? That's the question that's being asked here. And there will be different, so we also learn from each other, right? We learn from each other's experiences. We might be dealing with some unresolved questions from previous times as well. So we're living we continue to live stories, and we take the different characters as well in these stories. So that's also interesting to think about. In terms of whether we can influence, yes, we can. By our example, by our goodwill, intentions, prayers, we can help others with our compassion as well. And so that might be why we're brought together in this life, either to learn to extend that compassion, or to be that support for somebody. Who knows? Previous life, it might have been the roles may have been reversed, and so these stories are complex and interesting. But the way we see them, particularly in the Bhakti tradition, we see, so these are karmas that we live out. What's Krishna's role? What's God's role? Sanctioning our desires and facilitating our desires and our needs as we may see them. We can change it though. So the goal in the Gita is not to continue reincarnating. So I would like to end on this. The goal in the Gita is not to continue this endless cycle of reincarnation called the wheel of samsara. In human life, in an evolved human life, we have the opportunity to end the cycle. And how do we do that? By awakening to our soul nature, to our spiritual nature, and cultivating our spiritual nature, cultivating our relationship with the divine, that we can seize, because the soul thinks it's experiencing birth, disease, old age, and death, right? And we suffer in this. Some happiness, some joy, some pleasure in life, but birth, disease, old age, and death, these are difficulties, these are challenges that we all experience, concomitant part of the reincarnation experience. And it is imposed. It's not real to the soul. It's experienced by the soul as long as we're identified with these bodies, these personas that we take on. You might be acting in a play, in a theater, and you take on a role, a persona, and you identify with it so strongly that you feel the pain of that drama. Or let's say a car. You buy a new car, you identify it with so strongly, it's an extension of your ego, and then it crashes, and what happens? Oh, you hit me! Yeah, we feel the pain of it.
The shock of the car.
Yeah. And so the goal in the spiritual life is to awaken our spiritual nature and that identity. To live a karma-free, like to deal with that karma. So in bhakti, in yoga, is service. We also annul karmas that we don't need to come back to live those. We become karma-free by offering everything in service, in devotion. And so then the soul can be released from the cycle. Release means we talk about going back to Godhead or returning to the spiritual world. These are things that you can further explore in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I had given the last word here, but I see your hand has gone up 3 times. So I really feel that you have something important to share.
Well, I kind of forgot my question.
Okay.
But if you have health, I think it's like you have health issues, right? And it's up and down all day. But you feel that. So how are you going to like, I don't know. Like if you have headaches all day and brain fog and you've never experienced like genuine compassion or support from anyone. It's like,
Yeah.
and you're just like, I don't even know what I'm asking. Right?
Yeah.
But it kind of resonated with what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can hear the pain in your question.
How are you supposed to do what you said like that easily? You know?
Yeah, when we're in the situation of pain and difficulty, it's more, it can be more challenging, but it can also be like a trigger for us, an impetus to become more spiritually aware and to undertake spiritual inquiry as well. So that's the transmutation where the poison becomes nectar. So we can transmute those experiences through growth as a person. We can become more compassionate in that suffering, and we can become more spiritually aware and evolved in that suffering. There's the opportunity in it. I know it's difficult and challenging, but there is also opportunity in that. It takes great strength and resolve, and it helps receiving other people's compassion and kindness in that struggle as well. Thank you for the question and the vulnerability. We're going to have some chanting. We are kind of over time, so it's going to be short chanting.